I'm going to read you 3 quotes, all from media personalities who are regulars on television, and you can tell me which of these 3 quotes is worse and more dangerous. I'm not going to identify who said them. I'm just going to give you the quotes. You ready?
So here's A.
A. Homeless people who do not accept help in the form of resources funded by public money should, quote, be locked up in jail, quote, or involuntary lethal injection.
What?
Or something. Just kill them.
What?
Just kill them.
That's not a real.
This is not some obscure person.
That's not a real quote.
That is a real quote from a very famous person. Here's another one.
Okay.
They are at war with us. Whether we want to accept it or not, they are at war with us. And what are we going to do about it? How much political violence are we going to tolerate? And that's the question we're just going to have to ask ourselves. And finally, I've already lost it.
You can pull it up in 2 seconds. Don't you worry, Dad.
I can?
Yep.
If you say so.
Yep.
Yep, I did, in 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
The MAGA crowd desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving.
All right, so folks, what do you like the chat take over? A, B, or C? Which of those quotes do you think is the worst?
And I did not identify the speaker.
What if I told you I knew who each one of those speakers were?
Well, you're a smart kid.
It's not like these quotes have gotten quite a bit of attention.
I know.
In the last,
I know.
Couple of weeks. So it's not. I think.
And those are by far not the only ones I could have used. So what are we getting? Are we doing a poll on this?
No, people are just putting in the chat.
Yeah.
So far, I've only seen A's. A. Oh, should we do a poll?
Nah, I think we know what's going to come out.
Everybody's
A and B are vastly worse than C. And who's the only one who lost their job?
C.
Jimmy Kimmel. A was Fox News host and anchor Brian Kilmeade. And C was one of their most prominent on-air hosts, Jesse Watters. And by the way, Waters.
What's a Watter?
Jesse Waters. And by the way, his quote was made before they even knew the identity of the shooter, much less any motivations of the shooter. And there are a host of similar quotes throughout the conservative world before they knew anything about who the shooter was, declaring war, saying the left has blood on their hands, this is an assassination that is attributable to the Democrats and the left. And, of course, they still don't know for sure what the motivations of the shooter was, and may never. There have been over 300 mass shootings in America already, and the truth is we don't know the motives of any of them. It's almost impossible to discern and determine motivation. But Trump has now said he's cracking down on the left. He's declared Antifa, whoever they are, terrorist organizations. Never mind real violent organizations that participated in the January 6th insurrection that injured 140 policemen, like the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys. No problem. Antifa, who isn't even an organization, is vastly more dangerous. All right, Sam, I know you have a lot to add to this.
Let's just intro the whole topic and get into this in detail. So the breaking news as of yesterday is that ABC has yanked Jimmy Kimmel live after the FCC chair, Brendan Carr, blasted Kimmel's comments on Charlie Kirk, which we just heard a piece of. This is fueling outrage over censorship and political pressure. Let's take a look at his full quote, Dad. How do you feel about that?
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, here it is.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay? And it didn't just happen.
Okay, so that's what the monologue, the part of the monologue that got Jimmy Kimmel suspended indefinitely. I'm going to be straight up honest. I don't think that was bad at all. I mean, maybe you can argue his whole thing about his whole MAGA quote and them trying to say, distance themselves. I mean, maybe that was a little misleading, but to me, the jokes here are clear. He's making a joke about MAGA folk who instantly turned this into political weaponry, and he's making a joke about Donald Trump, who obviously, from that clip, did not seem very like he was grieving much for this man that he claimed to be so close for. He didn't make a joke about Charlie Kirk himself at all. In fact, earlier, before this monologue, he actually did speak about Charlie Kirk directly. Should we take a look at that, Dad?
Yes, please.
Still trying to wrap our heads around the senseless murder of the popular podcaster and conservative activist Charlie Kirk yesterday, whose death has amplified our anger, our differences. And I've seen a lot of extraordinarily vile responses to this from both sides of the political spectrum. Some people are cheering this, which is something I won't ever understand. We had another school shooting yesterday in Colorado, the 100th one of the year. And with all these terrible things happening, you would think that our president will at least make an attempt to bring us together. But he didn't. President Obama did. President Biden did. Presidents Bush and Clinton did. President Trump did not. Instead, he blamed Democrats for their rhetoric. The man who told a crowd of supporters that maybe the Second Amendment people should do something about Hillary Clinton. The man who said he wouldn't mind if someone shot through the fake news media. The man who unleashed a mob on the Capitol and said Liz Cheney should face 9 barrels shooting at her for supporting his opponent blames.
Okay, so that was his reaction right after, I guess, his first show post the Charlie Kirk murder. He seems to be, again, making fun of Trump. In fact, he says that he finds the Charlie Kirk murder terrible. He even posted about it, saying, instead of angry finger pointing, can we just for one day agree that this is horrible and monstrous to shoot another human? On behalf of my family, we send love to the Kirks, to all the children, parents, and innocents who fall victim to senseless gun violence.
Fire him.
This is the guy who they're firing over Charlie Kirk comments. Now, what do you always say, Dad? Follow the
money.
Follow the money. There's a lot of money involved, I think, in this decision. Jake Tapper explains the possible financial side of this decision very well. Let's listen to Jake for a second.
Well, follow the money. In August, Nexstar, the largest owner of TV stations, local TV stations in the country, announced that they wanted to purchase their rival Tegna for more than $6 billion. Now, in order for that deal to go through, Nexstar would need the approval of the Federal Communications Commission. And in fact, they would need the FCC to lift the cap, a 39% cap that the FCC has, which is a rule that states no company can own enough TV stations to reach more than 39% of the households in the United States. And this deal going through would violate that cap. The current chair of the FCC, Brendan Carr, he earlier this year said that he would be willing to entertain lifting what he called arcane artificial limits on how many TV stations any one company can own. Okay, so that's where we are. Nexstar wanting to get the FCC's approval, the FCC commissioner making it clear that his mind is open. Today, Wednesday, the FCC commissioner goes on a podcast, a MAGA podcaster, and makes it very clear that he did not like the comments that Jimmy Kimmel made on Monday night. He calls Kimmel talentless. And then he says,
so I think, again, Disney needs to see some change here, but the individual licensed stations that are taking their content, it's time for them to step up and say, this, garbage, to the extent that that's what comes down the pipe in the future, isn't something that we think serves the needs of our local communities. But this sort of status quo is obviously not acceptable where we are.
You believe that?
So he's calling on local TV stations to reject the Jimmy Kimmel show. That was posted on Twitter or X at 1:01 p.m. Wednesday. Within hours, Nexstar makes the announcement that the company's owned and partnered television stations affiliated with ABC will preempt Jimmy Kimmel because they object to recent comments made by Kimmel. And then, shortly after that, ABC television network announced that they were suspending Kimmel's show. And so, while there are no doubt people who are legitimately offended by what Kimmel said, and no doubt tensions are high and feelings are fraught, there is also a lot of money to be made, and there are also a lot of people who want to endear themselves to the FCC commissioner and President Trump.
Follow the money. Okay. Wrapping this intro up, the longest intro we've ever done. So after Kimmel dead, Trump has doubled down, threatening to pull licenses from TV stations critical of him, raising alarms about direct attacks on press freedom and how corporate America is bending to Trump.
Two problems here. One is our mainstream media has become overwhelmingly corporate. And as we can see here in that excellent clip you did, an intro you did, Sam, that lends itself to extraordinary conflicts of interest. And we couldn't be more blatant in this case of Nexstar dropping Jimmy Kimmel when folks who have said vastly worse things, objectively, I don't care what your political ideology is, he hasn't come close to saying we're at war or we should kill people, nothing remotely like that. So this is a huge problem, and we've seen it for years. Thanks for watching our video, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and become a member today.